Hey, welcome to another exciting edition of Cambridge Inside Out. I'm Robert Winters.
And I'm Judy Nathans.
This is the returning Judy
Yes,
Nathans.
I'm not Patrick.
You're
I
not
know that
Patrick.
was that was the constant theme.
Right.
I'm not Judy.
Right. Yeah.
And I just want to say, last week, well, the previous week, that's another reason, but last week I went to a Title IX at Harvard, an event that
And Title IX
is
is
45th year of
Right.
the equal, not equal rights, but for
it's basically the federal law that
It's a federal law,
assures
right.
equal access for women.
right, and it's not just sports, which people always associate
Right.
with. This
Yeah.
particular event was moderated by Shearer Springer, who's a wonderful writer, and BUR and Boston Globe. Plus Maura Healey was present because we know she
Right.
was a great basketball player, and she's
Yep.
Attorney General. Swin Cash, one of the best UConn players out there, WNBA Olympic medalist, and Jevy Stone, another Olympic rower medalist. So it was a great discussion, and there is an exhibit at the Schlesinger Library, which is there till September 15th. It's very small, but it's really, people need to see it because it was wonderful. And also just to remind people that the Radcliffe Institute and other things, there's a lot of free things in this wonderful city that,
Yes.
let's take advantage of Harvard and MIT and all these places because there's a lot that we can learn and do.
That's true. From the academic point of view,
Yes.
I often go to some of the lectures on
Yeah.
cosmology at
Oh,
Harvard
yeah.
and elsewhere.
Oh yeah, so it's
Yeah.
just great. So that's where I was. And thank you very
like-
much, Patrick, if you're watching this. For
Yeah.
ably
Cambridge is like an
filling in.
amusement park for intellectuals.
Oh boy,
Or-
that could be
all
used
we
as
need
a
are
tagline,
rocks.
which is really bad.
All we need are rocks.
I know. But it just, also, yeah, I mean, you don't have to be really rich to participate.
That's
It's
really
nice.
true. And actually, a somewhat
Yeah.
related thing.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of this is really like prime time for festivals
Oh my God,
and all
'cause
sorts of
it- right,
events because
'cause
the
of the
weather's just
weather,
enough.
exactly.
Harvard Square did Mayfair just a week.
Right,
weekend
and also
before last.
the Arts First, the Harvard Arts First was
Which
incredible.
I missed it this year.
Oh my God, I went to that the first time.
Yeah.
Courtney Vance, Matt Damon made a surprise appearance.
Yeah,
I mean, you're
yeah.
talking like amazing people, but
Yeah.
yeah.
And actually, just a quick shout out. There was I think it was the first
Yeah.
installment of Inman Eats. It was a
Oh, I saw that in your
Square.
yeah.
It was over
Did
the
you go to
weekend.
that?
Yeah, I did.
Yeah.
And first time doing something, it's always a little
Sure.
iffy,
Yeah.
But some of the same people who put together the barbecue stuff down on Cambridge Street. What's it called? Whatever. They do a big
Oh,
barbecue
really?
food.
Outdoor kind of thing, like food truck type thing?
Yeah, they closed down Cambridge Street for
Okay.
many blocks, and it's a
I
great
have
event.
missed that one.
I
Yeah.
think that's a little later in the year.
Yeah.
But Jason Alvis, who's now associated with the East Cambridge Business Association,
Okay.
which is now kind of the umbrella for the Inman Square.
Right.
yeah.
Aren't they joining forces?
They
or
are, so
something?
they're doing
Yeah.
together. So
Okay.
they put on a great event, and
Nice.
I think it was like you bought some
It's so,
book of tickets.
you mentioned they had to get Inman's Bucks, and I said,
Inman's Bucks, yeah.
you know what, I'm not doing
Yeah, I
that.
want to just get a snack. But there were people who were
Oh, yeah?
offering me tickets and say, "Hey,
Oh.
you want to go do it?" But
Okay.
I just was passing
Yeah,
through.
I could have
But it was
passed
great.
you.
It was really great, and actually
It was
coming.
rainy, right?
No.
It wasn't. I'm
This
trying
was
to remember what Saturday
Sunday.
was.
This was
Oh, it
Sunday.
was Sunday. Yes,
Yeah, yeah.
Saturday was rainy. Okay.
If it was, I was unaffected.
No, Sunday it was all right. I
Yeah,
think. I'm
yeah.
trying to remember what was going on.
Anyway.
Sunday was good.
It was
Nice.
good stuff happening, and actually
Good.
coming up very soon.
Yeah, is
I'm sure there's something cool next weekend, but
Cambridge River.
June 3rd, I believe.
It's a Saturday. I think it's
Is
the third.
is the River Festival.
Right.
Well, I think it's now called the Cambridge Arts River Festival. or
Right. It
Cambridge
is still
River
near
Arts
the river
Festival.
theoretically because it's
Yeah,
down by
we always
that
call it
little.
the River Fest, or
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Well, they used to have races on the river, if you remember.
Right. Yeah. So anyway, that's coming up on the 3rd,
Yes.
and I kind of like the way they do it now down
Yeah.
around Leechmere
Yeah,
Canal.
I like
think
that.
it works pretty well.
Because it's closed off to the traffic. It's smaller, but it's nice.
Yeah, what they call it, Cambridge Parkway.
Right.
It's kind of runs behind the hotels. It's really perfect for it, and I hope it's a good success again this
They'll
year.
volunteer
And
there.
I hope we get good weather for it too.
True.
I tell you, having helped put together big outdoor events like
Yes.
Earth Day events back in the early '90s.
Yeah, yeah.
You just live in this constant state of
I
fear
know.
that it's going to wake up. You're going to wake up on that morning and it's going
Yeah.
to be raining.
Well, you have to prepare. You have tents and stuff, right?
Right. Or have a rain date, But a lot of times that's just
true.
not feasible.
I'm not sure if they have a rain date
Yeah, if you're bringing in a lot of, either performers or vendors or whatever.
Well, Boston Calling, which is happening in Cambridge.
Yeah.
You know that at the Harvard Athletic Complex.
All right.
All this weekend. You didn't know that?
We're taking over.
Yeah. Well, you have to have a lot of money for that one, but.
All right. All right. A few things. Actually, we do like to point out some of the civic opportunities here, and I'll just sort of make one last blast because the deadline is, I think, late next week.
On which one? Central Square Advisory Committee.
Central Square Advisory Committee and Harvard Square Advisory Committee.
All right.
I believe the deadline is May 31st.
Let's see, for which one?
Both.
Okay.
Yeah, it's at the end of the article. So anyway, if that's something that's of interest to you,
Yeah, May 31st. So that is a week. No, it's a week from tomorrow.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'll be on a retreat then.
Is that why there's not going to be a show?
Yeah.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
I actually didn't. No, I just thought, Memorial Day. No, I could have done it, but I'm going to a thing.
Well, either that or we can carry out on a threat we've been making for a while, which is to do a pre-recorded one where we show everybody exactly how to run a Cambridge proportional.
Well, we still need to do that, but I think we don't have time to do that.
We probably don't have time to do it just yet.
But I would like to do that.
It's a promise. We'll do that.
We need to do that.
I want to just, people still treat it like it's this big mystery. Like there's some wizards with pointy hats.
You have good graphics though if you're going to do this.
Actually, there's a presentation I believe happening, maybe it's June 7th, I'm not sure. A couple of people actually in front of the Election Commission who are actually going to...
Is it going to be videotaped? That would be a good recommendation.
No.
Yeah.
No,
why?
What they're going to do is when they're doing the count, there's a plan here to do a much more graphic representation while it's
you're talking about the results, getting the results.
Yeah, basically.
It's not about how to vote.
Yeah.
Okay.
No. Well, I think there's definitely some desire to do a much better kind of explanation.
Snappy video.
Snappy video.
You could be in it. You're good.
Yeah, I could do that.
Well,
so we'll
put
see.
it in their ear.
Right.
And CCTV could be involved.
Yeah. Actually, there are a few proportional representation related things that are probably worth mentioning here.
All right.
Sort of touched upon the one the Election Commission are going to, do a little bit of a dog and pony show for some of the graphic way of representing it for, I hope, at the count. But there's actually also, I think, early June, they're going to actually have the vendors in because the city will have to replace the voting machines.
Wow.
They're not doing it for this year, this year's municipal election. I think they want to have everything in place for next year's state elections.
Right.
So it's a lot easier.
I mean,
that you can just pretty much do it right off the shelf because these voting machines are just designed for, single winner elections and not proportional representation.
Right.
The one that's a little riskier is making sure that the new setup will work well with Cambridge's PR proportional representation elections. Back when I was on the technical working committee for the computerization of the Cambridge elections.
It used to be paper.
Yeah. So it was the TWCC.
Oh my.
I think until 3 or 4 of us kind of argued for the computerization.
Yeah.
And it happened. And, so we looked through all the machinery and I think we made some pretty good decisions.
Because there must be some out there that already deals with this. We're not the only place in the world that does PR, right?
Right, but I don't actually know, but having the particular type of proportional representation that we do, namely single transferable vote proportional representation, which is different than the proportional representation they do in most democracies around the world.
All right.
Because proportional representation is the rule in most places, actually.
Right.
People may be shocked to hear that.
More than 2 parties too.
Right, but it tends to be driven by the parties, so it's what you call party list systems or some hybrid of something sort of like where you vote for individual candidates, but you also vote for parties.
Right.
But when we were doing it here, there was a software package that was still sort of partially in development to do the tabulation. That was called PR Master.
Ooh.
I was actually a funny story, true confessions. I was a candidate back then.
Oh goodness! And also looking
I had to step off the committee while I was a
conflict
candidate.
Of interest.
But during it's 20 years ago now, so I can say this, right?
Long ago, right? Yeah.
So the person who was the programmer.
Yeah.
Well, during the first election, which was the test of it, and I'm a candidate.
Yeah.
Guess who put him up at my house?
Oh,
So
no.
the program.
Well, it's a good thing, there must
So,
be some
I knew it.
statute of limitations.
Yes,
here.
yeah. Well, I mean, I was what they say in the business, I was a beta tester for the election software.
Okay,
I would run data through it, I would find potential problems and
Huh.
whatever, and I continue to do that,
yeah,
all right? Just get it right. But they had to write the software, well, they had to do a kind of custom job for the scanners. We have these AccuVote scanners, that's the current hardware.
yeah,
And those are not designed to do proportional representation elections, but they do scan and they can record what
Yeah.
we call ballot images, which doesn't mean pictures, it just means the data on the ballots.
yeah,
And then there had to be a firmware or whatever you want to call it that basically translates that into the kind of records that we feed to the software that
Wow.
does the tabulation.
yeah.
It's actually pretty easy to do, which is why I want to do the
Someone like
program
you,
one of
yeah.
these days. But just getting all that squared away was
Yeah.
not sort of an automatic thing,
No, of course not.
and perfecting the software, getting it right.
Yeah.
Now it's really robust, and honestly,
Uh-huh.
anybody in the world could use it. It's all open source now, and it's great. But the thing is that if we get new machines, then we have to get new upgrades to translate what the
Oh.
scanner sees into what the tabulation software needs.
Huh.
And that probably means another reprogramming job that will have to be done.
Jeez.
And we test it and we do that. It'll be great. It'll be
That'll be
easy,
interesting.
really, in the end.
In the
but-
meantime, for this election, it'd be great if we could put something together along with, some kind of snap.
Yeah, yeah.
This is what it.
Yeah, but in June, I'm going to go there and sort of see what the vendors have to offer. So, I'm still sort of into it.
Is that a public meeting, or is it just something you know about?
There is going to be a
Just
public
people?
meeting for the election commission, but there may also
Not
be
that.
more of
Okay,
a staff meeting with the consultants.
but
kind
you're
of
allowed
meeting.
in because of your.
I'm not allowed just for free, but the thing is
No.
that I let them know that I'd be available since I have a
They
fair amount of
rely on you
background.
for your,
Yeah, I mean, there are kind of questions, there are certain questions, somewhat technical, but bear with me, that need to be asked. Like,
yeah,
if you want to be able to rank
Yeah.
many candidates,
yeah,
and the AccuVote scanners have 33 read heads.
that's
So,
it.
and some of them had to be taken up
Yeah.
with a candidate's name, which actually put a limitation on how many rankings you could
Wow.
actually squeeze on.
Which isn't good.
So,
right?
asking the right questions of
Yeah.
the vendors about, well, what are the capabilities of these machines, how
Right.
do they do it,
Right,
is important, because you don't want to buy the machines and then
Right.
say, oh my God,
this isn't gonna work, right?
people can only rank up to 5 candidates because of the limitations of the machines. You want to make sure the machines will allow
Right.
as many rankings as are feasible. And for those that don't know, state law does give the election commission the authority to allow, to reduce the number of rankings to fewer than the number of candidates. Now you can vote for as many as there are candidates, but no fewer than 15 if there are 15 or more candidates. So they've never had to do it, but they could do it. And it wouldn't make any difference at all in the election results. Because honestly, it's the high rankings that,
Wow.
the 1s and 2s and 3s that really make almost the whole story. Was that technical enough?
That,
All right. Anyway, so that's coming up. There are a couple of other PR related things. First one thing I want to say is this. So I mentioned, I think it was 2 weeks ago. It was the death of Bob Moncrief.
Right.
Bob was a city councilor for 2 terms back around early 70s. Great guy. Wrote a really wonderful scholarly article on the sort of dying years of rent control, how it sort of went out of existence. He had been on the council when it went into existence, so he was a great person to do the writing. So I was reading in the obituary in the Boston Globe, he was actually currently was in process of writing a history of proportional representation and planning in Cambridge.
Wow.
So
I wonder how far that got.
I like to talk to his family. I don't know, I knew Bob somewhat, but I never met his family.
Yeah,
And I think somebody, I don't know who, maybe me, I don't know,
yeah,
should talk to his family and
Yeah. See where
if we
that's
can
at.
kind of, see
Yeah.
what the status of that is, because it's a story that should be
yeah,
told.
definitely.
Yeah.
Well, I think
and-
you should be the one, since you're
Well,
so Mr.
there are some other people who are better writers than me.
Well, no, not necessarily, yeah, but to approach them,
Yeah, I think it may
Yeah.
come to that,
Yeah.
right? One other thing, not to obsess on
Yeah.
all voting related things, but a mutual friend of ours, Howie Fain, I
Oh,
met
right,
with last week.
who I didn't recognize.
Back in the early 90s, I was actively involved in promoting proportional representation elsewhere in Massachusetts. It went totally nowhere.
Amazing.
But, you know, we were pretty interested in it, and it was actually the friendships we developed there is what led to our promoting computerization of elections in Cambridge. So there was a good outcome, I think, fair to say. But I had seen the main person of a group called the Fair Ballot Alliance of Massachusetts was a guy named Howie Fane. And I hadn't seen Howie in like 20 years, and I met with him last week.
That group was not around then. Is it a new group,
Fair
Ballot?
Right, no, Fair Ballot Alliance of Massachusetts, FBAM, was around back then.
It was, okay.
And it still exists on paper, but
see.
what has happened, and some people might be interested in this,
The mission's
is
changed.
there's a new group that was formed over this past year in the wake of the vote in Maine to
do rank choice.
To adopt ranked choice voting in I think it's single winner elections throughout the state of Maine, including
It's
I believe
just the state elections, I think.
well, I think it might be U.S. congressional seats as well.
Oh, maybe you're right,
Yeah.
but not presidential or something. I
Right,
forget. I don't know.
So you know, kind of energized by that
Yeah.
victory. So a group of people in Massachusetts are trying to do the same thing here. Now their main agenda, from how it was explained to me, because I know a lot of the people who are involved. Because you know, when you're sort of involved in like voting stuff, you sort of get to know each other to some degree.
Not the biggest network around, right?
No, not really, not really. But
Pretty nerdy,
you know, I think their primary goal is to have ranked choice voting in single winner elections. So that would include state rep seats, state senate seats, gubernatorial elections.
Okay, briefly, what does that mean?
It means rather than saying like if you're going, well, actually it could mean there would be no more primaries.
Right, which I think is great.
I think it would be fine.
Waste of money.
And you
because
could,
you're usually unopposed.
right, so rather than have what we have now where, I mean, I always use this as one of my favorite examples of sort of the wrong way to do things. So when Joe Kennedy left his seat back when it was the 8th Congressional District, it was a free-for-all. There were 8 candidates competing in the September primary, which is usually Democratic primary, who would, and then whoever prevailed from there would then go against a completely meaningless
Republican.
In a Republican where Democrat was guaranteed to win. There were better ways to do elections than that.
So under a ranked choice, you would have all those 8 plus the Republican
they could
go
all
in one election,
right,
and it'd be ranked.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah, I actually like that too. So you could
Saves
have
a lot of money.
You could have a Republican going. You could do it
anyway.
You know, you could even do it to reduce it to the top 2 and then have them go head to head.
Which is what they do in a lot of places.
Some places, yeah. But I think it would actually be better to go without the primaries. Now, the party people may not like this
because they want to promote their party,
and they also have a little bit of control over the outcome if they can convince. You know, we've seen it here locally where there was going to be a competitive election, and then party leaders stepped in and asked somebody not to run because they wanted somebody to run unopposed in the primary, so they'd be guaranteed that seat in the November election. And if you got rid of the primaries, honestly, there would be that leverage just wouldn't exist. Right? Now you could end up with 2 Democrats, being the last 2 in a ranked choice one where transferable votes, sort of like we do, but not to elect multiple people, but 1. Right?
No, I like that idea. So that's what this organization, their mission is to do.
Right. That organization is, I think it's called Voter Choice Massachusetts.
Okay.
I mean, I've chosen not to be too affiliated with them because I think, to be perfectly honest, I think some of the people who are part of it are a little too Bernie Sanders-esque for my taste. So I don't really want to, hang with them.
You're still griping over primary results, I think.
Yeah, I think their goals are not my goals. But I'm, I think they kind of know that I'm sort of the Cambridge resource, and the truth of the matter is that if you start talking about ranked choice voting in Massachusetts, it is inevitable that there'll be a Boston Herald editorial or something saying, "Oh, you want to do something like that crazy system they do in Cambridge." In which case, everybody's going to go to Cambridge and say, "Okay, count for yourself."
Yeah, right.
So having some people in Cambridge to sort of talk up in defense of, different, I think better election systems, even just the simple idea about a ranked ballot. You could actually use a few bodies to be there to defend.
Right.
So I'm available as a resource, but
Yeah.
I don't, I don't wanna hang with the proponents,
Mhm.
but I'm all behind what they're doing.
And it's called voter choice?
I think they're called Voter Choice Massachusetts, or
Okay.
something like that. There's one other little thing about that too, which I was gonna say is that, oh yeah, I did ask, I said, if you guys are gonna promote that, I said, here's my one concession.
Yeah.
Make it so that there's enabling legislation so that cities and towns, if they, I don't know that this would pass, enabling legislation to allow cities and towns to adopt something like proportional representation. I don't know that very many places would.
Right.
But also to allow Cambridge to modify its system to a ballot order independent system, what we call fractional transfer.
Which is.
We could only do that via home rule petition now. It sure
So
would
how
be
would that be
nice.
different from what we have right now? Instead
would-
of single is that,
No, it's still single transfer
Okay.
vote essentially, but
yeah.
it gets a little technical.
Yeah, maybe that should be
Yeah,
covered in
we could talk
whatever
about it
you're
here.
gonna do, okay?
But honestly, I would love to
Yeah.
have it be just a simple option that the local city
Uh-huh.
council could just vote to allow
And
that
they
change.
can't, it has to go through a
Yeah,
home rule
because
thing.
most
Okay.
people feel that that would be just a simpler, better way
Yeah.
to do it, but right now it's, basically you have to do a home rule petition to amend chapter 54A of the Massachusetts General Laws,
Oh,
which
boy.
was repealed in 1972.
Oh, boy.
So you're actually modifying something that's no
It's already
longer on the
been,
books,
oh,
so.
jeez.
Anyway, so that's a whole nother story.
Yep,
So that's ranked choice voting, so anyway,
yeah.
talk to me, we can talk about that. There's one thing I'll talk a little bit about, we had a committee meeting, because we want to talk a little bit about what happens up at city council here.
Yeah, that was during the day?
Yeah, so-
9:30 in the morning or
Yeah, so
something?
yesterday was a Cambridge City Council meeting.
Very short, it was
May
over by
22nd.
7:15, but,
Yeah, there was only 2 orders, and it was basically the
There we go.
centerpiece was the passage of the budget.
right, although maybe
there's
in
not
the
much to do,
second half
so-
hour, we could talk, there's a lot of people spoke
Yeah.
on this East Cambridge thing, but
Yeah,
anyway.
we can do a
yeah.
little bit about that,
Right.
but earlier in the day, there was
Yeah.
a meeting of the Government Operations Committee.
Okay, and
Well,
what
it's
did they
actually
do?
technically
They,
the Government Operations and Rules Committee,
okay,
right?
so they covered the administration of the committee?
Well, there
or-
were multiple topics on the agenda for the meeting.
Yeah,
Some of which have to do with dedications to, some prominent former city manager, for example, and a former state representative, right? So that's sort of ceremonial type stuff.
oh, I see.
But there was something a little bit more substantial, which is Councillor Kelly had made a proposal in the form of a council order, calling on there to be a change in the meeting agenda to allow a special slot in the agenda for councilors to just basically
For-
speak freely
Yeah.
on projects they're
That they're
working
working.
on.
Didn't this come up in a council meeting a couple times ago?
Yeah, it did.
It did.
It did. So it was
So it
referred
got
to the
referred
committee.
to, oh, I see, and now they're.
And then they
okay.
were acting on it, right?
And what happened?
Well, it was interesting because
Yeah.
the city solicitor came in, and there is this ticklish reality
Yeah,
about the open meeting law.
exactly.
All right. So you might think, well, okay, can Councillor Kelly, for example, just say, well, I'm working on such and such an initiative with resiliency in the wake of potential climate change,
Uh-huh.
right? This is what I'm working on. Well, sounds pretty benign, right?
Yeah.
Everybody
However-
wants to hear. Well,
What's
I
the
mean,
problem?
if it's basically something that's potentially going to be involve a policy direction, there's a question: does it require 48-hour notice? Right? I mean, open meeting law is pretty cruel this way.
But he says he's working on it. He doesn't mean he has a committee that's gonna work on it.
Well, he does have a committee that's working on it, but it's no other city councilors. I don't think there are any other city councilors on the committee,
Huh,
right? So, procedurally, is
Yeah.
this? I didn't think it would be as big a deal. And besides, as they say, no whistle, no foul. If councilor
Right.
just wants to say, "Excuse me, can Madam Mayor, may I just
Yeah.
speak? Point of personal privilege," and then just say something. You could do it. Nobody's going to complain, right?
So,
But
yeah.
Councilor Kelly wanted a special part of the meeting for this.
Can counselors and do counselors meet on their own, off-camera, off meetings?
Yes and no.
Is that allowed or
They're
not allowed?
not
Does that come
supposed
into
to.
that?
They're not supposed to sort of push
Discuss.
policy, but obviously, if you're writing a city council order that
Yeah,
has more
yeah.
than one person
Yeah,
as a sponsor, they have to talk a little bit. You can't have a majority, and you can't do it serially. In other words, have 3 here, and then
Wow.
2 walk out of the room,
do you have
and
to
then 2
keep
more.
minutes?
No, No, I don't believe so. But I think there's a lot of
Yeah.
kind of uncertainty and unknown about this. So,
Yeah.
but I actually went there for a reason, which
Yeah.
is that I mean, to me, I don't really care if they want to do that. That's fine.
Mm-hmm.
But I wanted to speak, and I did, about this this practice that seems to be growing of counselors sort of acting.
Silos, I like that word.
They're like silos. They, maybe they work with their aide, and they bring in
But
like
it's all their own.
sort of an
thing.
invite-only little group. They have what they call a working group that's
Their own
working on
fiefdoms.
something.
Yeah.
So I gave the example. I said, so when I spoke, I said, well, what if, let's say, Vice Mayor McGovern just decided that he wanted to do something about the way we do elections in Cambridge.
Mm-hmm.
So he invited like 5 of his friends or something, and they were going to work it out.
Yeah.
And then they just came up with this pre-baked proposal,
Yeah.
right? I said, I know a thing or two about this. I'd like to
Yeah.
participate in this.
Yeah.
So right now, there's no requirement
Yeah.
that be advertised at all.
Right.
So all this is just sort of happening.
Right.
Now, again, everybody understands that
Mm-hmm.
there's like constituent services that shouldn't be public meetings where you,
Right.
you're working some things
Not
out
everything
with
can be
people.
public, right?
But something that's policy based, there ought to be an announcement or be a listing that says, hey, if you want to be a part of this, if you want to join in the conversation
Mm-hmm.
and have some input, you should do that. And that's pretty much what I said.
And any response?
No, I think that was generally people respected that point of view, and we'll see what happens. But I mean, there were some other things. I think Councilor Maslin was suggesting that the councilors should meet daily for a brief meeting, and I thought, well, that's great if you live 100 feet from City Hall, but I don't think that's fair for everybody else.
Yeah. Well.
And it ain't gonna happen.
I know, but if they certainly get paid like for a full-time job.
I know. Well, that's
and
the
a lot of
argument
them
he
have the
was
second
giving.
job, but you're right, and
But
I
there are
how I
better
feel
and worse
about
ways
that.
of doing that. Yeah.
Yeah.
So anyway,
All
that was
right.
an interesting meeting.
Yeah.
And there'll be more to say about that.
Will there be? Then there'll be a committee
There'll
report
be a
on
committee
that.
report.
Okay,
yeah.
I'll look for that.
Well, I'll say more in a
Okay.
couple minutes. So see you in a minute.
See you next segment.